We are continuing on our path towards resumption of more activities. And to do that, we need to stay vigilant and we need to continue with effective measures. And work is continuing on multiple fronts in this regard. You heard just now how we are doing more to actively manage the cases in the dormitories to prevent large clusters from recurring again. We are also doing more to scale up our safe entry and trace together programs. So these different measures gives us confidence. With these measures in place, we can progressively open up further and resume more activities. And you heard just now from Minister Gan that we are resuming activities for seniors. That's one area that we have been looking at. Beyond that, for workplaces, we are now looking at how more employees can return to work safely. And the issue is not just about the numbers of people going back to work, as what they had used to do before COVID-19, but it's also about more flexible workplace hours, because we really need to have a good part of workers traveling in the off-peak hours after 9:30. By doing so, we can reduce the risk of large crowds gathering in public transport, in public spaces, and also in office buildings. So the Ministry of Manpower and its tripartite partners are actively looking at this issue. Finally, we are also looking at activities like dining out in F&B outlets. Now, dining out is an activity that all of us enjoy doing. It's very popular. But we also know that it's an activity that carries some risk. In fact, quite a bit of risk, because we are gathered together, large groups of people in an enclosed space without our mask on, and we have prolonged exposure to one another. And that's why we have put in place a whole series of safe management measures in F&B outlets to ensure the safety of everyone. I'm glad that most people, F&B operators and diners, most people are complying with these measures. But there are still a few breaches that we pick up literally on a daily basis. And they typically happen at the popular night spots. Not always, but very often at some of these popular areas. What sorts of breaches? Well, you would see people drinking after 10:30, finding all sorts of ways to disguise their alcohol, but we catch them anyway. You see people not wearing masks. You see gatherings of more than 5, or perhaps people across multiple tables intermingling with one another. And very often, this happens in a private room because they think that no one is watching, and therefore we book a private room, multiple tables, and we can have our own private gathering. Like I said, we do not think this is happening everywhere, but there are these few breaches that we have been picking up. And the operators who are doing this are causing unnecessary risk to their diners. And I think it's also not fair for the majority of operators who are complying with the rules. And yet these few are taking their chances and breaching the rules. So our enforcement agencies will be stepping up spot checks as well as enforcement actions. Up to now, the approach by enforcement agencies have been to issue a warning for a first offender. But I think enough time has transpired for the entire F&B industry as well as for diners to understand what the rules are and to comply with them. So from henceforth, the enforcement agencies will be stepping up their checks, and once they see an offense, be it by an individual or by an F&B operator, they will take action, even if it is a first offender. And the actions, the enforcement actions, could be in the form of a fine, or it could even take the form of the closure of the premise if the breach is severe enough. For example, if the enforcement officers go in and detect multiple breaches within one venue at any particular time, then they may very well require that place to be closed. Right? So these are actions that we will be taking in order to ensure the safety of everyone when they are out dining. Overall, we are still in phase 2. We are continuing to, progress with or continuing to look at ways to resume activities, more activities safely. I would say our ability to continue on this path of progressive resumption of activities rests largely on 2 factors. One, we have to control the infection and keep numbers down, right? So we all have to work hard at that. But secondly, it also depends on our ability to comply with existing measures. Because if we are not even able to keep to the existing measures, then why even talk about further liberalizations or easing, which will cause more problems down the road? So we really seek everyone's cooperation. We understand that there is some fatigue with these measures, but it is very important that we all continue to keep our guards up, comply with the existing measures, and we need everyone to cooperate in that regard. And if we are able to do well with existing measures, keep the infection numbers low, then we can start thinking about the next steps of easing existing measures, move towards a new phase of easing, as well as more opening up of activities. So let's all do our part during this period. We are doing well so far, but we should continue to work hard, stay vigilant, and work together. Thank you.